In a previous video, I shared some Phoenician symbols that have been found in ancient America and point to the presence of ancient Phoenicians in the Americas. In previous videos, I've also looked at DNA evidence related to um, Jews in ancient America that supports the Book of Mormon. I've also looked at the Back Creek stone, which I feel is the best example of ancient Hebrew writing in the Americas. In this video, I'm going to talk about something slightly different, which is the presence of ancient Hebrew symbols that are a part of Hebrew culture and Jewish culture, which have also been found in ancient America. And they've been found in particular with the Hopewell mound builder civilization, sort of in the time frame that fits the Book of Mormon. And I'm going to show you some examples of that. The first symbol is one that also applied to the Phoenicians, and this is the eye in the hand symbol, also sometimes called the Hamsa symbol. This is a symbol that has been found in a number of Middle Eastern cultures and was used by the Phoenicians as well as by the Hebrews. Now, it's also been found in a number of ancient Native American artifacts. In my video about the Phoenicians, I showed a few examples of the Hamsa, and I've since found a couple of more. Apparently, there are a number of them, and this here is an example of one of them. This is by a Gregory Little. He's not a member of the church. He does a lot of work related to the mound builders and the mounds that they built and the artifacts found in them. And he talks about the presence of the eye in the hand symbol, as he calls it, and it's on a number of the artifacts. So here's another example of one. In the previous video, I showed this one, that rattlesnake disc with the eye in the hand symbol and the rattlesnakes around it. We also talked about this one where the symbol occurs again. I believe that was called the Willoughby disc. And then this is another one. This one was also found at Moundville, Alabama. Now, in addition to those, there have been, and this is a slide that I used in the Phoenician symbols document. This is with one of the artifacts, which has the eye in the hand symbol. It also has on it a 6-pointed star. This may be, it's unclear exactly what reference this has, but I point this out because, as you know, the 6-pointed star is also something that's used in Hebrew culture. Also found in one of the mound sites is something that looks a lot like a shofar. Now, a shofar is an ancient musical horn. It's sometimes translated in our Old Testament as a trump or a trumpet, but it was a horn, and they would generally make it out of a ram's horn. It could be made out of other types of horn as well, whether from a goat or antelope, for example. But the preference was a ram's horn, and the preference is one that was bent. And they would then use it in religious services. So it is from the Old Testament. It was used when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, and it also was used when they marched around Jericho and then blew the horn and the walls fell down. It's also used at the time of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So it's a very important thing in the Hebrew culture. Now, interestingly, in one of the Hopewell Native American sites that dates to the Book of Mormon timeframe, so right around that 100 BC to 300, 400 AD timeframe, there is what looks like a simple, it looks like a shofar. Now, it doesn't, from the and this is held in the Hopewell Cultural National Park in Chillicothe, Ohio, and it's on display there. This is a mountain goat horn, and it has the bent shape. Now, from the artifact there, I can't tell whether it's been hollowed out or not. It does not look like it's been made to use as a horn, but it's nevertheless something where there would not have been mountain goats in the Ohio area. So likely this was brought from a great distance, probably from the Rocky Mountain area. And so that's a great distance to bring and preserve something. Well, actually, this is a copper one to resemble that. But at any rate, this is another example of a Hebrew type symbol found in ancient Native America. Now, the biggest and most well-known symbol, Hebrew symbol that's found with the Hopewell, is what is known as the Hanukkah mound. It's also at times called the East Fork site, or the Milford works. And it is an earthwork that was found east of Cincinnati, and was a massive earthwork, about 900 feet wide, and so it's an extremely large one. And this was first discovered in 1803, and word of it got back to Thomas Jefferson, who at the time was thinking about the Louisiana Purchase, and he had also great interest in the possibility of the Jewish connection. And so he had a survey done of it. So it was initially found and surveyed back to 1803, and then later was copied and done again in the Squire and Davis survey work that they did in the 1840s. Now I have up here the Squire and Davis. This is the Squire and Davis book that's quite well known about their survey of the various Hopewell mounds. Their thing on this work is on page 94 and 95 of the book, and they have a little bit about that, and they talk about the interest in it and desire to learn more about it. This one also shows up, and this is by that same Gregory, Dr. Little. It's the encyclopedia, Illustrated Encyclopedia of the Native American Mounds, and by Gregory Little. And he has a thing on it as well. Now, as you can see from the image of the earthwork that was done by the Hopewell, that it looks like, what it looks like is a 9-candle menorah, and it looks like the image of a Hebrew oil lamp as well. And that's what it's generally seen and looked at to be. Now, if you've seen my Back Creek stone video, you'll know that the head of the Smithsonian in that late 1800s time frame was a man named Cyrus Thomas, and he really did not like the idea of the Native American connection to Hebrews. And so when the reference of this site came to him, by that time it had been destroyed. It was destroyed, I don't know exactly what year, but sometime in the mid to late 1800s. And so Cyrus Thomas insisted that it was imaginary, that it never really existed, that it was just a fabrication, that for people to say that it existed. But what he didn't know, that because he thought it was just something pointed at by Squire and Davis in the 1840s. He didn't know of the prior surveys and documentation of it that had gone on for decades before that, including the 1803 survey that was done. And Thomas Jefferson had actually had the Army Corps of Engineers come out and do the survey work, which this diagram that's in the Squire and Davis shown in front of you it turns out that they didn't actually do the diagram themselves. They just copied what was in the work done by the Army Corps of Engineer. So it shows the site as being near the East Fork of the Little Miami River, and also that there was a spring there. They have not been able to locate since then where this mound group is. It's known to have existed. It's, like I said, is well documented, but they have been unable to locate exactly where it was. Part of the problem is that in the early 1800s, when the Army Corps of Engineers did the survey work for the site, their description of where the earthwork was ambiguous. What they said was that it was about 20 miles east of the junction of the East Fork of the Little Miami River with the Little Miami River, but they don't explain how they measure it. And what happens is the river makes quite a winding route, and so anyway, it ends up too big of an area to be able to figure out exactly where it is. All right, now there's a professor at Ohio State named J. Houston Mola, and he's done a significant amount of work. This is a nice article that he did in the Ancient American magazine, and he talks about this and some nearby works. And he also goes a good deal into trying to figure out where the earthwork is. And the bottom line is, at the end, he was unable to conclude where this particular earth is found. I'll show you in Google Earth approximately where it's found. It's east of Cincinnati. So here on Google Earth, here is Cincinnati. They said it was about 20 miles east of the Little Miami junction with the East Fork of Little Miami River. So I'll go ahead and show you where that is here. Okay. So this is by the way, the Ohio River. So Kentucky down here, Cincinnati here. This is the Little Miami River that comes up, and it actually is flowing southwest there. And there's the junction between the Little Miami River and the East Fork of the Little Miami River. And so it was described as 20 miles, approximately 20 miles east of there. And most people think it was approximately where the East Fork, this East Fork State Park area is over here. This is, you know, as the crow flies, is maybe only 13 miles or so. But what happens is this kind of winds way around, and then they think it's so most likely somewhere over here in this area. This is it picks up. There's a little lake, and then it picks up back again, the East Fork of Little Miami River. As you can see, it's very windy, and probably somewhere in here was perhaps where the earthwork was, but we don't know exactly where it is right now. Now, after having the earthwork proven to have existed and to have been a Native American earthwork that was built in that Book of Mormon time frame, because again, it was built by the Hopewell. It fits all of the aspects of the Hopewell earthwork type formations, and the Hopewell were ended by that 300, 400 AD time frame. So the question is okay, so how do people then address it? And what's happened is that so Dr. Little here, he's talked with others, and he says, well, we think, he says, it's upside down, and you basically ignore the oil lamp aspect. And he says this, instead of being a menorah, he says it's upside down, and this is a bird with a head and the tail. So if you kind of take it and you turn it upside down, he says, you know, that can look a little bit like a bird. So they're trying to say maybe it's actually a bird effigy. It's kind of crazy how far people will go to try to avoid the evidence. the Native American connections with the ancient Hebrews. To me, it's kind of a joke to say that this would be a bird as opposed to the menorah symbol. But anyway, that's the response there. There's a really good video by the Hidden in the Heartland YouTube site, and they do an interview with Houston Mola, who's that Ohio State professor. Dr. McCullough is not a member of the church, but in it, they talk about the Back Creek Stone, which I previously talked about, a couple of other artifacts with Hebrew writing on them, the Decalogue Stone and the Keystone. And then he talks about this earthworks, and he talks about the background of it. He gives a little bit of the background involving the earlier surveys and Thomas Jefferson, which I have referenced just now. And then anyway, it's a video that's worth watching. Okay. All right, so these are solid examples of ancient Hebrew symbols among the ancient Native Americans. The Hamsa, hand in the eye symbol, is a symbol that was used by the ancient Hebrews as well as others in the ancient Middle East, like the Phoenicians. The six pointed star is also something that has been found in an artifact, as I showed. The shofar with a horn. We have that copper artifact of the horn that looks just like a shofar. That's in the Chillicothe, Ohio site. And then we have the Hanakaya Mound, which is sometimes also called the East Fork Mound or the Milford Earthworks, which is the best example of this Hebrew symbolism that's found by the Native Americans, particularly the ancient Hopewell. All right, so that's the presentation today. I hope you liked it. If you have questions, feel free to put them below, and I encourage you to like and subscribe so we can share the information with others. Thanks.